Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this panel discussion titled Trust in Action Reimagining Citizen Services in a Cyber First World. Moderated by Riz Khan, international journalist and TV host, Al Arabiya English. Our panelists are His Highness Prince Dr. Bandar bin Abdullah bin Mishari, Assistant Minister of Interior for Technology Affairs, Saudi Arabia. Her Excellency Shaza Fatima Khawaja, Minister of State, Ministry of Information Technology and Telecommunication, Pakistan. Engineer Dr. Megat Zuhairy bin Megat Tajuddin, Chief Executive, National Cybersecurity Agency, Malaysia.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good to have you here. I'm honored to be your moderator for this session, Trust in Action, Reimagining Citizen Services in a Cyber-First World. I'm going to start with just a quick poll here, just to ask you to put up your hands if you tend to visit government offices for your services. If you tend to go physically to the government offices for any services, just put up your hands. We have a couple of people. See, now that's changing. In many cases, there may not be an option soon to go to a physical site. I've been living in the Gulf for 25 years, and I'm finding, of course, more and more I'm doing everything online. So it's something we have to get used to, whether we like it or not. Now, in reality, there are huge benefits, but of course, there are some challenges when dealing with online services, especially in a world where cybersecurity is a major factor. So we're going to discuss that. One of the biggest issues, as I say, is to safeguard information and the management of personal data that can often be very, very sensitive. So as the use of online services grows exponentially, protecting citizens becomes more and more of a priority for governments. And of course, there's the need to build trust, which is one of the key factors. There's a need to build trust because this huge bank of sensitive data has become a higher value target for cyber criminals who are using increasingly sophisticated methods in their attacks. So in this session, we want to explore how trust and security can be embedded into government systems, across the government systems, to deliver a safe and secure service for citizens. What are the best practices? What are the lessons learned from past experiences? And how might strategies develop in the future? Now, of course, you've been introduced to our wonderful panel to discuss this, and it's a nice, diverse selection of panelists in order to be able to give you a perspective across different environments, different countries, and they're high-level representatives of those environments, so we're able to ask some interesting questions. I'm going to start with an opening question to each, but I would like, ideally, to have you all participate. I like to think of you not as an audience, that tends to be passive, but as participants who can actually involve yourselves with questions to our esteemed panel. So I'm going to start with His Highness, His Royal Highness Prince Dr. Bandar bin Abdullah bin Mishari, who's the Interior Minister, as you know, for Technical Affairs in Saudi Arabia. Sir, if I can start by asking you, what is the biggest challenge that you've had to face here in the Kingdom in terms of building trust for your customers when it comes to the online services you provide?
Shukran. Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let me first thank NCA for this wonderful forum, and thank you, Engineer Majid Al-Mazyad, for continuing this great occasion. And bringing people together to talk and discuss these issues is very important, especially during these days where we witness the advancement in everything, including the threats and risks in the cyber. I assure you, alhamdulillah, we are scaling and advancing in the cyberspace cohesively. And this is your conference or forum title. In Saudi Arabia, we are moving quickly to add more services and digitizing our life. In government, especially, we are moving most of our services into the cyber. Citizens, visitors, residents are accessing all government services, or most of them, through our apps and our sites. The trust is very important. It's a better terminology than saying just security or cyber security. or resilience. Trust is the nice definition of the feeling of the customer at the end when he consumes any service. So the biggest challenge is to gain more trust. We are living with our customers in a trust environment, alhamdulillah. However, the biggest challenges, to answer your question, is to gain more trust, especially under the pressure of adding more services enabled with advanced technologies like AI, or upgrading the infrastructure using the latest technologies and embracing the new trends in the infrastructure, including the quantum computing, building on the success in Saudi Arabia of e-services and digital services is a challenge by itself. Most of our services, by the way, is available online. So we are exceeding 80% of our services. Therefore, the rest of the services, which is the almost 20%, is going to be challenging because the nature and the processes of these services demand an innovative way of putting them online. So we are pursuing this challenge to gain more trust. The other challenge is to enable our current services that we started maybe 15 years ago, and to enable them with the new technologies such as AI. AI is not going to be isolated platform. It will be part integrated of our services, our apps, our sites. Therefore, we have to find the innovative ways, creative ways to make AI adds on top of our services. So alhamdulillah, we are measuring, by the way, our trust, our customers' trust in government services. And at the top of that is the statistics, shows how our customers are looking or seeing us in that respect. And recently, for example, Abshir app achieved 93.9% in the maturity scale level of DGA. And this is very high achievement. In the international level, where Saudi Arabia, alhamdulillah, is advancing quickly in all indicators, and we hope to achieve our targeted objective that our Vision 2030 has set, which is challenging for us to be among the best 5 or the best 3 countries in the world in e-services or in digital services. I'm sure the success is going to continue in Saudi Arabia, and we will keep leading the achievement in that area, and we will achieve more trust, and especially in accessing the services without fear. And alhamdulillah, this is happening right now. The penetration of the digital identity in Saudi Arabia is among the highest penetration in all countries. We reached more than 28 million digital identity available for all our customers, including citizens, residents, visitors. Every person, irrespective of his age, his gender, his status of living in Saudi Arabia, can access the right service that can help him in his daily life. And we are continuing to enhance the digital identity features by adding biometrics, static biometrics, dynamic behavioral biometrics, and contextual also identification to avoid any risks. So we are optimistic. We are moving, inshallah, faster and faster in gaining the trust.
Inshallah. Thank you, Prince Bandar. Minister Shaza Khawaja, we have, of course, in Pakistan a similar situation to Saudi Arabia in the sense that you have a fairly large geography. You have, large gender gap in terms of generational gap, ages. You have to build trust among an older generation too, often rural-based. What are the challenges you found, and how have you managed to tackle some of them in Pakistan?
So thank you very much for this question, and I would also like to, first of all, congratulate the NCA for hosting such a successful event, and it's an honor to be a part of this. As far as Pakistan goes, we are a population of 240 million people and growing. And over 68% of them are under the age of 30, which means over 150 million people under the age of 30. Our median age is 21-year-old. So that's kind of our biggest asset that we have, but it also has certain challenges, like you've just said, associated with it. When we talk about digitizing our services and providing citizen services online, this is a large demography and a very diverse demography that we're talking about. So the first thing that we did earlier this year was to bring in a parliament-backed legislation, which is the Digital Nation Pakistan Act. And what the act is doing is that it is creating a Pakistan Digital Authority, which is going to build a very open and transparent, with participation of the citizens, so a democratized National Digital Master Plan. That National Digital Master Plan is something that we're going to then follow up as a roadmap by the sectoral digitization plans. And the idea of trust is something, and also trust is based on security and transparency. So the security and transparency have to be embedded in our master plans by design, and that is something that we're very focused on. Three key things that we believe will help us in the adoption and really securing trust from our citizens is, and first thing that we need to do is that we are, at the core of our belief is that technology is a facilitator of citizen and individuals. So what we do is that we step into their shoes and we try to look at the services and digitization from a citizen lens. So the first thing that we feel from that perspective that we do is that we create awareness. So what does it mean if your data is going online? If your health data is being digitized? If your personal data is being digitized? What kind of data is a critical data, sensitive data that you have to be careful about? What are the other data points that are rather more general? So that's the kind of awareness, the first step that we step into. The second step is that once digitized, we have to have a very regular feedback loop and a very strong feedback loop from the citizens. So wherever they feel that there might be a situation where they're not trusting the technology behind it, they're insecure about their data being put on the digital systems, there has to be a secure feedback loop where they can communicate with the government and communicate their challenges so that we're able to solve them effectively. And the last is issuing transparency reports. So we have to be very open with our citizens. Issuing regular transparency reports actually helps us build that kind of trust within the citizens for them to be able to use our services and adopt them. So these are a few core things when we talk about trust, and we're looking towards a more zero trust maturity systems where we have to make sure that where we're using, let's say, repetitive patterns where certain information is being reused. So for example, NADRA, our National Digital Registration Authority, has started giving out digital identities. Now that digital identity will become a single sign-on for other e-services. Now that single sign-on has to be super protected. And how do we go about it? So we're issuing the PKIs, we're ensuring that a zero trust system is embedded. So privacy and security have to be embedded along with transparency, awareness, and feedback so that we have to democratize security, we have to democratize digitization so that people own it. And unless there's a demand and ownership from the people, it's going to be very difficult for governments to push it forward.
Minister, thank you. So many questions to follow up, but I'll get on to Engineer Dr. Tajuddin and just try and get the perspective from Malaysia, the experience you've had, especially, sir, as you specialize in cybersecurity. You obviously have to bolster those government services, the online services, in order to make sure they are secure. What's been your experience?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for inviting me again. This is my third year in Global Cybersecurity Forum. It's good to be back. I think I would like to start with Malaysia's experience when we started our Multimedia Super Corridor initiative in 1996. The aim then was basically to accelerate digital transformation in the government services by investing quite a lot in our infrastructure, making sure that people get access, availability in terms of government services online, plus making sure that speed. That was the element of trust that we established then, making sure that the citizens and the public started to realized the importance of transforming from a manual or physical access to government services into online. We managed to successfully implementing it when 97% access of internet in Malaysia, 100% of government services at least has certain online information provided online, plus Malaysia, 129% Malaysian has mobile phones. That initiative has been very successful. Now the definition of trust has become quite different when those access to the government services requires more efficient, to a certain extent that when there is no availability on e-government services, manual is no longer an option. Number two is that when we introduce new services, then comes to a point at what do you do with our data? What does the government do with our data? Do you actually manipulate the data for certain interest? Or whether the cybersecurity parameters has been put in place? In cybersecurity perspective, it's good. The awareness in terms of the citizens that are so protective in their having in the cyberspace, but it becomes a challenge to the government making sure that they're fulfilling such expectation. To fulfill that, I mean, we have just recently introduced our Cybersecurity Act 2024, just entered into force in August last year, making it mandatory for all the national critical information infrastructure. Government services is part of it to fulfill the national cybersecurity baseline. By fulfilling that, it becomes a mandatory under the law, and it's an offense for them for not protecting the services. Then it creates trust. Secondly, we just amended our PDPA, our Personal Data Protection Act, making sure that the data owner become responsible of the data that they owns. Those two aspects, although it is on the legal perspective, then again, all the cybersecurity aspects, zero trust, making sure that all the necessary measures being taken care of. The third aspect, which is very important that Malaysia is putting into place, is that although we know what we're doing when it comes to expertise, using the necessary tools, the sovereignty comes into play. Although you have your own services, whether you actually operate it, whether the technology is yours. So that creates more trust in that sense, because those who are handling it, the data is in Malaysia, those handling are Malaysians, then it creates a very elevated trust in government services. Yeah.
Dr. Tajuddin, thank you very much. Listen, we only have about 8.5 minutes. I do want to see if any of you have any questions. If we have microphones, we can get one to you if you put up your hand. Otherwise, I have a million follow-up questions, but I'm looking and see no hands going up, so I'm going to do a follow-up question here because, again, we don't have that much time. Prince Bandar, it's amazing. You said 98% adoption now already with online services. So you've had the chance to actually bring a large part of the community on board. You now, of course, have the efficiency part of it that you deal with, and I gather you've looked at how other systems work, and you have tried to create a lot of efficiency so people feel trust. They're not running around trying to find different sectors of online services. You have a unified portal.
Yes. Indeed, unifying the access for digital service is very important, and recently our government mandated all agencies to add all services in one platform to be accessed in parallel with their apps and sites, which is Tawakkalna for everyone. Now we are building the unified access, and it will be added to the success of unified identity access management. So starting from maybe this year, we have both the unified access management and unified platform. And this unified platform will work hand in hand in parallel with all platforms. So as a customer, you have an option to access the service either through the agency or the service provider application or app, or go to the government unified app. This will enhance the journey, will add more trust, will encourage all government agencies to add their services to each other, to avoid redundancy, to enhance the experience of the customer. and innovate in the journey re-engineering. And as all of you know, the separation of government agencies is by definition is due to the physical isolation of agencies. And now in the digital age, this separation has to disappear in the eye of the customer, at least. And it's challenging to re-engineer a service that span all in 3 or 4 agencies. And inshallah, the unified portal or unified app, the national app, will achieve that. DGA is working aggressively on that. NCA is encouraging also all initiatives to increase the trust. The identity is in need to enhance itself, to add more trust to the access layer. Innovation is needed now, innovation in all layers. We need to encourage innovation in introducing all services. The biggest challenge in developing e-services is to innovate and re-engineer the service and to focus on the objective of the service rather than the procedure or the current procedure of the service. If you reflect the current procedure of the service, you will end up with something digitized but not friendly to people. You have to assure that your digitization is friendly to people. You have to leverage all technical or technologies to enhance your services, not only in the delivering it online, but delivering it efficiently with a high trust to the customer in the customer side. Right. In developing the services, you have to revise the development cycle of the service, including the customer layer back to the infrastructure layer. So we are moving in that direction, inshallah, and we are benefiting from all experience in the world, but we feel in Saudi Arabia we are innovating more than learning from others.
Well, I'm old enough to have stood in lines at government services over the years, then gone on to portals that were very early adopting and very difficult to manipulate. So if and when I move to the kingdom, inshallah, I will enjoy this unified portal. Minister, I want to ask you just briefly about the challenge also of language. When you're going to build trust, you have people who, in a large country, who don't speak English necessarily, which is often the language of the internet. How do you manage the language challenges?
So I think that this is where the artificial intelligence comes in. So as we move from a more digital age to an intelligent age, these are the kind of barriers that we're trying to cross now, and these are the bottlenecks that are being solved for. So when we're building our super app, which is in the process right now, just like His Royal Highness just mentioned, we will make sure that it is available at least in our national language, which is Urdu, and then subsequently available in regional languages as well. What we're doing to make sure about it is that we're having sandboxing in our research and innovation fund, which is Ignite, and also our National IT Board, which is executing the digitization of services. So that sandboxing is allowing for the innovation to come in and to make sure that not just across linguistic barriers, but also across socio-economic barriers, across literacy barriers, these services have to be available regardless of anyone's social, economic, or literacy status at this point, right? So we have to make sure that the underprivileged, who unfortunately have been left out of the education system, should also be able to use it. Our women, our vulnerable segments of our society, everybody, digitization has to be inclusive. And in an era of intelligent services and artificial intelligence, we have to make sure that we take everybody together, because this is going to, if not done so, it is going to become a polarizing agent rather than a unifying and an equalizer. So that is the kind of work that is being done. And extremely important what His Royal Highness just said about what is truly digital. We can't apply technology on existing physical services and say that we've become digital. And the leapfrog that we can have right now is that we don't have to go through the process of physical, digitization, and digital. We need to take a step back. we need to redo our operating models. We need to go back and re-engineer the processes and see what all redundancies are there in the system right now so we can move forward. And that is going to help us really ensure the kind of transparency and efficiency that we're hoping to get out of the system. So, and last thing is that in doing all of this, the core challenge that we face is change management. Change management of the people. Technology is the lesser of the problems. Everybody's working on that. But human mindset change management is something that has to happen, which brings me back to your question, that kind of trust and change management cannot be done with foreign languages. It has to go very, very local for people to be able to do that.
Anyone who's married knows that human trust management is the biggest challenge. It's good to know Pakistan is bridging that digital divide. And again, very important point about not simply layering the digital services on top of existing, because it doesn't necessarily work that way.
Absolutely.
That's really an interesting point. Maybe a final point, perhaps from Dr. Tajuddin. One of the things that you have referred to is the Digital Security Act, the fact that you are protecting the society that way. What has generally been the feedback you've had from people's sense of knowing that you are actively regulating and actually enacting a security act?
When we introduced our Cybersecurity Act 2024, the Parliament passed it unanimously. It was timely, and the Prime Minister insisted that we have to have an actual act. This act, making sure that those providing critical infrastructure, they must protect their services. It was received very positively by citizens. But one aspect that the citizens remains concerned is that how do we catch the criminals? The Computer Crime Act in Malaysia was established in 1997. It's no longer relevant. We are in the process of establishing our Cybercrime Act, which will be tabled in Parliament in December. The fact that we want to introduce that, the citizens were so excited in the sense that we are quite aggressive in putting a complete ecosystem in our legal framework, making sure the organization protect yourself. If the criminal manage to go in, we also have an act to making sure that we catch the criminal and punish them in a penalty that making sure that
Significant.
Yeah.
It's so important coming together at events like the Global Cybersecurity Forum that we're able to exchange these ideas across different countries, different experiences. There's always so much to talk about and never enough time. So I'm seeing the clock at 0. I have to end it here. I thank you very much, but a big warm thank you to the panel, please.
Shukran.